Can you describe the style of your production of Macbeth? And is there anything that might take audiences by surprise?
Well, the main thing that might take the audience by surprise in our production is that it's just the two of us playing every single role. And on top of that, we also don't have a set or any elaborate costumes. So instead, it's all about two actors playing lots of different parts and then asking the audience to use their imagination to create all these different landscapes that exist within the play. And to help them do that, then we try out lots of different ways of showing different characters, but we also have a fantastic lighting design and a fantastic sound design that helps create atmosphere and hopefully transports people to different worlds every time we need to.
How did you decide what parts of the story to tell and any cuts that you made?
So, along the way, we tried out lots of different cuts because what we wanted to do, what we were really kind of most concentrated on, was making sure that we were telling the story in a really clear way. And we felt early on that there were pairs of relationships that were very important. So obviously there's Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, and they're sort of the sort of central characters within the play, and we wanted to foreground their story. But there's also Macbeth and Banquo, who are great friends, and they have a very important relationship at the beginning. And then there's Macbeth and Macduff, who are sort of more antagonistic towards each other, and they have a very important kind of relationship. So we tried to focus on those three couples throughout the whole play, and then along the way we ended up cutting a lot of different parts which didn't tell that story in particular. So we've lost a lot of the Thanes, so who are the lords of Scotland. So there are lots and lots of them in the original play, and we've edited them down and created one super Thane called Ross, who takes a lot of other people's lines as well, and then just represents all of the Thanes in one. And we've also trimmed down other bits like the porter scene, for example. We've kind of cut that down very heavily so that it doesn't feature quite as prominently as it might in other productions.
What benefits are there for the students studying the play to see it in such a stripped back way?
I think the students will be able to invest in the play in a deeper way because it's so stripped back. Your imagination is engaged on a deeper level. We've got lighting to support us. We've got which creates fantastic environments. We've got a wonderful sound design. We're presenting all the characters. So they'll be able to really go deeper in their imagining, I think.
And it sort of forces them to really concentrate on the words that are there,
Yeah.
and to really sort of just hear that story kind of coming out, which I think is really useful if you're studying it.
Yeah.
When you're sort of normally perhaps just reading it sort of by yourself, to actually hear those words aloud.
It's interesting for them to see what is possible when you have two people and a fantastic story. You know, they can take what they've seen back to the classroom and back to their own performance, which is exciting.
How do you help the audience to know what character you're playing?
There are various things you can do when you're creating a character. You can think about their weight, their age, their rhythm, what part of the body they're leading from. I play King Duncan, who is an older character, so I feel like my centre of gravity is lower. Change my voice to be a bit deeper. Very different to Banquo, who is more playful, so is lighter on his toes.
We sort of make lots of different kind of choices in terms of physicality and vocally, and we also include some stage directions in our performance. So we will actually say, enter Macbeth, and that will then let you know who it is, and hopefully after a while you'll kind of hear from the way that we're talking and the way that we're kind of holding ourselves and the way that we're moving, you'll know already who it is that's entering, but we add that in as well to give you a sort of a bit of a help with who exactly we are in that particular moment.
What is your favourite character to play?
Lady Macbeth is my favourite character to play because of the arc, her journey, where she begins, where she ends up, and how she gets there is challenging and interesting to play. It is different every time, you know, depending on what Paul gives me, you know, how the scene goes in the moment, what the audience gives, you know.
And I think It's an obvious answer, but I would say Macbeth as well, just because of the amazing journey that he goes on. One of the things I really, really love about the play is the relationship that Macbeth has with the audience. He has a whole series of soliloquies where he's just confiding in the audience, and that relationship and how it changes over the course of the play is really amazing. But I think as well, one of the lovely things about doing a show where it's just two actors and it means you have to play loads of different parts, then it's also really fun to play the other parts, and depending on any particular day, you might sort of really kind of love playing this particular Thane and have lots of fun with that. And so it's lovely to kind of move between the characters as well.
Do you think there's anything relatable in Macbeth's character, and do you have any sympathy for him?
So I think that you always try and relate to something in any character that you're playing, and I think one of the things with Macbeth that I think is very relatable is that sense of he's got no time to make choices. So he makes some very bad choices and then he has to live with the consequences of them. But it's what happens when you're under pressure and you feel that there's something on offer and you take it, and then you have to deal with all of the consequences that stem from that. So I think that sense of having to make a decision and then having to live with that is very, very relatable, and the doubts that then creep in as to whether you've made the right decision and the sense of guilt that you might feel about some things that you've done. I think that's something that we can all relate to.
And what about Lady Macbeth?
I think Lady Macbeth is very relatable. That striving to want something better. The ambition, what does ambition kind of mean? It means you want a better life, you want to be protected, you want something different. We can all relate to that. And throughout the story, we see her relationship break down. She becomes isolated. She goes inward into her own thoughts. She can't find a way out. We can all relate to that, I think, as well.
Did you discover anything new about the play when you were creating this version?
I discovered that Lady Macbeth and Macbeth are really only on the same page for a very limited space of time. The plotting together, then they're not really together, are they? Lady Macbeth wants this to happen, Macbeth isn't sure. They do this thing, and then the consequences, and it all starts to unravel. So from very early on, she's alone, and I hadn't really felt that before.
And I think something that maybe is a bit connected with that as well, that has really jumped out doing this production is just how quickly it all moves as well, and that they don't have the time to sort of reflect and to take a moment and, is this a good idea or is it not? Actually, it all just has to happen so quickly, and we've made it a little bit quicker still because we've made certain cuts, but even before that, I hadn't kind of totally appreciated just how all of the spare time is just sucked out of the production, out of the play, and they're constantly having to make life or death decisions, and how highly pressurized that is. And no wonder people then make some pretty extraordinary choices along the way.
Macbeth is seen as the most shocking of Shakespeare's tragedies. Do you think it still has the power to shock audiences today?
I think the supernatural element of the play is still shocking. That feeling that your kind of life it has to be a certain way. It's kind of written down. It's fate. There's no way out of it. Is shocking and disturbing and alarming.
I agree, and I think that sense of what people will do for power as well, that they're kind of offered a glimpse of something, and then the terrible things that they'll do, and murdering friends and murdering relations, and sort of the incredible lengths that people will go to if they're offered just a little bit of power. I think that is still kind of shocking, seeing that on stage.
What is the key thing you'd like students to take away from this production?
It's understanding the story, really being able to invest in the story and put themselves into somebody else's shoes for a moment.
We'd really like students and everyone coming to see the show to really appreciate just how the power of the words that everyone has, and how those words kind of are like actions, actually, that everything has got such a strong intention behind it. no word is wasted in the entire play. It's always to do with getting something that you want, and there's an amazing urgency and drive, and it's one of the great challenges but great opportunities, I think, in performing roles like this, is that these characters are thinking at 1,000,000 miles per hour, and we've got to kind of get up to speed with them and try and think as quickly and be as active as they are.
I'd like the students to go home and try speaking these words aloud in the classroom. Get them aloud, get the intention behind it, feel the breath. It's very different from reading it on the page.
Come and see the show.